Calaroga Shark Media.
Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Things are picking back up after the holiday, and I think I put the open theme back the way it was. So things are pretty good here. Mark Ruffalo has criticized Joe Rogan for Joe Rogan's shock over Trump's ICE raids. Ruffalo says it's a little late now. Johnny Mac likes a comedian controversy. Let's throw some kerosene on this one. On the July 2nd episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, Joe Rogan said there are two things that are insane. One is the targeting of migrant workers, not cartel members, not gang members, not drug dealers, just construction workers showing up at construction sites, raiding them, gardeners. Like, really? Mark Ruffalo went on Threads on July 6th and said, "Dear Joe Rogan, it's a little late now to pretend like Project 2025 didn't exist and wasn't the playbook all along. You were either not that smart or not that dumb. It's hard to tell at this point." Rogan had not responded at the time of this recording. Jon Stewart was back off vacation on Monday night's Daily Show. He commented on the lawsuit that parent company Paramount settled against President Trump. The bit was Jon was doing commentary on the lawsuit, then cut off by a graphic that read, "Please stand by, brought to you by Arby's for when you want a sandwich commensurate with your company's shame." The camera cut back to Jon Stewart, and he said, "That's why it's so wrong." In case you missed it, Paramount Global has agreed to pay $16 million to settle a lawsuit from Donald Trump, who sued over the editing over the October interview that 60 Minutes conducted with Kamala Harris. Meanwhile, hey, Craig Robinson, lame. Let me just say that again in case Craig didn't hear me the first time. Hey, Craig Robinson, lame. Daily Comedy News and many other media outlets reported that Craig Robinson was retiring from comedy. My spidey sense was tingling a little bit. So it is now believed that the retirement is part of a brand new marketing campaign for a cell phone company. I'm not going to mention the cell phone company. Craig's original words included retiring from comedy to pursue his true calling. In Los Angeles, there are now billboards in the color scheme of a particular cell phone company that say Craig Robinson is quitting comedy. People are suspicious, thinking, why would Craig take out a billboard saying that? Craig has previously starred in commercials for this particular cell phone company, in which he called himself the company's chief technology officer. A second spot co-starred Brian Baumgartner from The Office, and a third featured Robinson and Baumgartner with Rainn Wilson, Jenna Fischer, Creed Bratton, and Kate Flannery. So, Craig, I hope you liked your attention, and I hope it was worth it, and I hope the cell phone company pays well, because not a good look. GQ has a nice profile with Roy Wood Jr., mostly about baseball. I'm going to use some of it on Saturday and some of it on Monday because it's about baseball and home runs, and Monday's the home run derby. But Roy did share that he still takes his baseball gloves to games and said, "I remember I got upset on a date one time when I lived in LA. I'd go to spring training every year for a weekend and just ingest as much baseball as I could. A woman I was dating at the time talked me into letting her come with me. Then she's like, 'This is embarrassing. You're a child.' And I was like, 'You know what? Yeah, I am.'" Anthony Anderson is guest hosting Jimmy Kimmel Live. They were doing some man on the street stuff. The question, "What's the whitest thing about you?" Anderson explained the segment was directed at, quote, "black folks on Hollywood Boulevard." Tagging the joke with "to do the opposite would have been racist." One man confessed to a love of pumpkin spice, according to Late Nighter. Another woman said she's a vegan. And then who showed up on camera? Chris Rock. He joked, "The whitest thing about me?" And I have to keep this clean here. I'm going to read it as Late Nighter has it because I don't want to get dirty. Use your imagination. Chris Rock said, "The whitest thing about me? That would have to be my bleep." I try about once a month to thank all the members and supporters of the show, the folks who have gone to buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews, the national donut chain. Right now they have a new flavor, cookie dough, that I'm kind of into with my coffee. They got rid of the orange donut. The orange donut was like the most amazing donut. They do this every now and then. I mean, I'm going back 20 years. There was a lemon glazed that showed up around Easter one year, and it was the all-time best donuts chain donut, and it never came back. I'm still waiting for it. Anytime I'm in the South and they have those maple frosteds, you can't get those in New Jersey. I love them, good maple frosted. But in June, they had an orange donut. Oh, it was so good. And listen to me. I've lived in New Jersey for 20 years now. I just said orange instead of orange. My kids make fun of me when I talk about Queens neighborhoods like Forest Hills, and they're like, forest. But I just said orange. I heard myself. Ugh, punch yourself in the face, Johnny Mac. You're losing your New York City roots. Anyway, thanks to people who are members or supporters. That includes Deb and Tom, Andrea, Gary, Shannon, Deacon Mike, Kenny, Yvonne, Ellen, Aaron, Becky, Scott and Liz appreciate you all. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews. Throw some money in the tip jar. I will go to the National Donuts chain. I will take your money. I will buy a large iced coffee with, I guess this month, cookie dough and almond milk. Getting old. That milk allergy's getting worse. Another way to support the show is become a premium subscriber to the feed. That's $5 a month, and you get this show ad-free, feed drop free, other stuff free. And you also get the other shows on the Calaroga Shark Network, including, notably, 5 Good News Stories, which I also host, and I have to record a bunch of those right after this. Did you see this about the movie Rush Hour? Remember the 1998 movie? It stars Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. Well, now, Prime Video has a disclaimer before the credits. It reads, "We all love our buddy comedies, but this movie was created in a different time. FYI, certain depictions, language, and humor may seem outdated and at times offensive. They've added similar messages to Goodfellas, Blazing Saddles, and Gone with the Wind." All right, what's the problem with Rush Hour, Johnny Mac? I haven't seen it in a while. Well, luckily there's a summary here. Apparently there are multiple jokes built on confusing Chinese and Japanese culture. There's a running gag about Latino gang members' accents. In 2002, so that's 23 years ago, Jackie Chan said, "I make the movie and I tell my manager, see, I should never make this kind of movie. Then I go to Asia and make Asian films and they call me and they say," and I'm going to paraphrase his language here, or it's going to sound like I'm doing a stereotype. Jackie said along the lines of, "Hey, Jackie, it's a big hit. It's a success." And I say, "What?" And then I go make Rush Hour 2 and I hate it. It's worse than Rush Hour 1. They call me and they say, "It's a success." And Craig Robinson probably would like this one. My spidey sense is tingling about this. Comedian Ross Noble is appearing on ITV's reality series Shark, Celebrity Infested Waters. All right, it's Shark, Celebrity Infested Waters. Ross Noble's on it. And what do you know? A shark bit him. Yeah? Did it? Or is this press? Let's find out. Ross Noble said, "Imagine a David Attenborough documentary, right? But Attenborough's got an idiot mate who just jumped in with the animals so we can see how big they are, and you learn something about these big creatures along the way. Depending on what got caught on the camera, you could see me get nibbled by a shark." I think a lot of people would instantly think, "Oh, sharks, danger, big teeth." I've never really had that fear. I watch a lot of television, so I see a lot of shark documentaries. The big thing I realized is it's not Jaws. Sharks don't attack people. The only way a shark has got to find out what another thing is to have a little nibble of it. I always knew that when they attack surfers, it's because they think they're seals. So that's the story behind comedian bitten by shark. Hey, ITV, you got me to talk about it. Shark, Celebrity Infested Waters, Mondays at 9. And that's your comedy news for today. See you tomorrow. Now stick around for this interview.
Our sister, I'm going to bring forward yours and give it to you now. And he said, "Oh, wow, that's great. Thank you. That's so generous of you, Carl. That's great." But his wife, my sister-in-law, went ballistic. She said, "This is too much money. This is wrong. I don't want anything to do with it," and stormed out of the room. And I thought, well, that's not what I expected. Oh, my God. So I realized from that this was not an easy thing to do. So I learned a lesson from that, and I knew that I had to do this authentically. I had to do it right. Otherwise, it was not going to work. So that happened. And then the third thing that happened was that I was looking at my financial statements, and I had more money there than I was really using. It was sitting there. I mean, it was growing, making profits and so forth, but it wasn't being used. I wasn't using it for me. I wasn't using it for things that I really cared about, not for my people. So I thought, well, if I have all this money now, why should I wait until I die? Why don't I bring it forward? And then, it was a long process for me to come around to that, but that's what finally started this. And I said, well, I'll do it now.
Let's back up just a bit. Tell us a little bit about your new book. What is The Happiness Experiment?
Well, this is a recording of the real events with real people who I decided that I would bring forward the inheritance, the money I had for them in my will, and made it a prequest. So it was a chunk of money that they were going to get while they were still young enough to enjoy it, and I was still alive to see it happening. So I saw what they were doing. So when I sat down with them, I talked about money and happiness and how one can be connected. I said, look, I'm going to bring this forward and give it to you. But what I want from you is a plan so that you use this money. So it's really a big benefit for you. I don't want this to overwhelm you. And they said, what kind of plan? I said, I want a happiness plan. And they said, a happiness plan? What's that? So nobody seems to have a happiness plan. But it's one of the most important plans you can get. And it doesn't have to be very complex. What is it that makes you happy? What values do you want to pursue? What goals and dreams do you have? And you can pursue them. And so I got them to write a happiness plan. And then when I saw the plan, I gave them all the money all at one time. And so then they took it, and I watched them with their plan. I saw all their plans, what they did, and how they became happier. And so, that had to be written about. So, because I wanted other people to see what they did so that they too could do the same thing.
Which prequest is the most unique one you've come across?
Well, it was a very, very painful and sad story because two dear friends of mine had a beloved daughter, and she was hit head on by a drunk driver and killed. She happened to be 8 months pregnant at the time, so that killed the granddaughter too, and also their daughter. They were totally, totally wiped out, devastated, and they died emotionally. They had decided that they could never be happy again, that it would be wrong to be happy. They didn't deserve to be happy because their darling daughter had been killed. Tremendously painful, awful, awful story. So they were grieving 6 years later. And I met with them and I told them how much they had added to my life and how much I was so grateful to them and that I wanted to express the gratitude. And I put them in my will and they could accept that. And I said, but I want you to have it now. And they said, oh, no, we can't accept it. They turned it down. Well, we worked. I said, look, I'm leaving it open. So several months later, I think his wife persuaded him to do it, actually, so they said, okay, we'll do it because if we're going to wait until you die, why not do it now? And they did it. And it wasn't the money, interestingly enough. They said it was the coaching that made the big difference. That changed their mindset from being so negative. We'll never be happy again. We don't deserve to be happy. And the coach turned their thinking, their mindset around and said, look, it can be, you can be happy again. And they started to get the mindset of happy people. And now you cannot believe what these people, they're traveling all over the world. They're in Tahiti right now. They climbed Kilimanjaro. These people are loving life. And it was a major change. That is one of the most heartfelt, wonderful results of the and in a sense, she said, the wife said, this prequest saved my life because we were no longer living. We were dead. And this brought us back to life.
Yeah, I mean, dealing with grief, and many of us have, I have, when you're in those depths, it can be really difficult to find your way out of it. And, often it looks like there isn't a way out of it. And, sometimes you want a map, right? And it looks like this concept could be a good map for you if you're that. It sounds like it was for these folks. I always like to end interviews by asking, is there anything that I didn't ask that I should have?
How can my listeners benefit from this book? What should they do? What would be good for them? And so I'll answer that question. First off, think about happiness. Think about being happiness. You deserve to be happy, and you can be happy, but you have to make it as a choice. I'm going to increase my happiness. Just that, if you make that realistically, I want to, and I'm going to increase my happiness, that choice. And then talk to people about it. Talk to a husband or wife or a girlfriend or a friend, a therapist or coach. Talk to somebody about it and say, look, I made the decision that I want to be happier, and I'd like you to help me create a happiness plan. And then work on it. And it's not that hard, but it is challenging, but it's a wonderful exercise. And if they do it, I guarantee they will increase their happiness. I guarantee it.
Carl Barney is the author, and the book is called The Happiness Experiment, A Revolutionary Way to Increase Happiness. Carl, where can people find the book?
Wherever books are sold, and it's now available for pre-order from Amazon, and they can go to thehappinessexperiment.com, and they can pre-order it there, and I hope they will.
Carl, thanks so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. It's been fun.